What's going on, guys? Tom here from INTEGNITY. Today we're going to be talking about photo animation. You might be asking, what is that and why should you care? Well, that's a fair question. With photo animation, you can take a usual static picture and transform it into an eye-catching 3D live photo. In a world that is always connected, we usually only take a couple of milliseconds to look at something before we move on. With animated photos, you are way more likely to capture someone's attention right away. With that, let's look at some examples. So you can see in these pictures how making live photos can be truly immersive experience. Every photo, no matter how or when it was taken, has hidden depth in it. All you really need is a way of reintroducing that depth back to that picture. Well, there are different ways and techniques for photo animation, but you can clearly see all of them have one thing in common. They all make static pictures more engaging by recreating depth and adding movement. So how did we actually create those animations? The secret lies in combining After Effects with the power of Photomotion X. As we all know, After Effects is an amazing tool, but sometimes it can make things complicated with all the buttons, panels and options. That's why we built Photomotion X, a dedicated photo animation tool that simplifies the process of creating these live photos. Photomotion X works with After Effects, but don't worry if you never opened After Effects before, I'll walk you through the whole process step by step. So let's talk about one of the tools included in Photomotion X. It's called Horizon and it helps you create photorealistic 3D projections from a single picture. We are going to split these tutorials into 3 separate videos so that we have enough time to focus on all aspects of the workflow. This first video is all about using Horizon to import your picture and set up the foundation for our animation. In the second video, we're going to focus on the actual animation. I'll show you the ins and outs of the process, how to tweak our animation, add particles and other cool elements. In the final part, I will cover all the ways you can export your animation out of Photomotion. So let's begin. Alright, so first things first, what we're gonna need is Adobe After Effects and Photomotion. Photomotion is a toolkit for Adobe After Effects and it looks like this. So you open that folder, you have a quick start tutorial here. But inside of this folder, Photomotion X, you can see you have 5 different projection types. In this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on Horizon, but you also have Glacier, Mirage, Parallax, and Portrait projections. If you double click on this file, open changelog, that's going to open a website, our website where you can check what's new, what's coming soon. Over here on this section, if you actually hover over this, it will show you time estimates as well. If you have any new ideas you want us to implement into Photomotion, just click on this button or just go down here on this chat bubble, click on that and let us know. Alright, we'll come back to these 2 folders later on, but just to give you a brief overview, this preview particle systems, that is for previewing particle systems basically. So whatever we're going to be using inside of Horizon, any type of particle, you will see the previews inside of that folder. Slideshow Builder is for connecting multiple photo animations together. So for example, you can use Horizon for one picture, Portrait for something else, Parallax for something else, and then use Slideshow Builder to connect them together. All right, that's all here. If you just go inside of this Horizon folder, you will see 3 After Effects project files. One thing to understand about Photomotion is that it is a viewport-based project, and that means you don't have to install it, you don't need to copy anything anywhere. Everything happens inside of your viewport, which has one massive benefit, and that is portability. That means you can start working on a project on one computer, save it, and then take it with you, open it on another machine, and continue where you left off. You don't need to basically copy anything else apart from these files here, that footage folder and these project files, and you should be good to go. Alright, so you have 3 files here. This one is for Adobe After Effects CC 2017, 2018, and this last one is for the current version. So at this point it's CC 2019, but we will also work in 2020 when 2020 is out, and so on. So all you have to do really is just double click on this file and that will open Photomotion Horizon. Before we do that, let's just minimize that folder and let's have a look what we're going to be animating. This lovely picture from Unsplash from a guy named Nathan Dumlau. I'm gonna go check him out. I've chosen this picture because it really kind of allows us to play with different features inside of Horizon. Now, you have this horizon over there, somewhere over there. Then you have a couple of layers. So these two people will go into one layer like this. I would probably put that rock in to the same layer as those people because they are basically standing on it. So next layer would be this rock behind it, and this one as well over there. That could go into another layer. Now it's important to understand that as we have different projections, each projection is good for a different type of picture. Now I've prepared a couple of examples here just to give you a brief overview. This one, for example, this is straight horizon because you can see these walls going over here like that, and obviously he's standing in front. Actually he's jumping, but that's the same as standing, right? He would be standing somewhere over here, but he's jumping. So obviously this is straight projection for horizon. You can see all the walls, you can see the floor as well, roof as well, easy. Now this picture, for example, obviously not for horizon, but for portrait projection. In the latest update, you can actually do sunglasses as well, which is pretty cool. So even pictures like this, when she's obviously looking to the camera, but the camera angle is a bit awkward, but that would work in portrait projection as well. Now, a couple of other things here. This one, again, this one would be for horizon because, again, you can see a lot of that floor here going on. And obviously those people are standing on that floor, so you really want to kind of pinpoint them to that specific location. If you used any other projection, for example parallax projection, you would see them kind of floating in space and it wouldn't really look photorealistic. What horizon allows you to do is kind of create that realistic depth in your images, especially when you have someone standing on floor and or touching wall or something like that. So this one would be for horizon. This one over here, you can use either horizon or parallax. Both of them would work. Again, just put him into a layer, including that rock, because they are on the same depth. I wouldn't be worried about this too much. There's just not enough kind of space there anyway, so you wouldn't notice. And you put everything else into a background, just like that. So that's for either of them, really. This one, again, it's up to you really. Could be parallax, could be horizon. I would probably use horizon just to kind of allow me to separate these trees over here and these bushes into their own layer, and then just kind of align my 3D cage to go that way, something like this. And then obviously put him into mask. And that's skateboard as well. A couple of other things. This one. What would you use for this picture? Again, it's up to you. Could be parallax, could be horizon. Purely because you don't see her legs. She's like not standing on that ground. Actually, she is, but you can't see it. So therefore, it's really up to you. I would probably just use parallax because it's easier to set up. So I'll put her into one layer and then put everything else into a background layer. That would do. But I have the same or similar shot from, I guess it's the same photographer. So this one specifically, you have to use horizon for that one. And that's purely because you can see her standing on that floor. And you also see that floor kind of going this way, like that. So this is definitely for horizon. So I would put her into one layer, put those people into second layer. That balloon could go into layer number 3, including those people. So that basically this whole thing could go into layer, including that balloon. Probably this one as well. I wouldn't bother. That one as well. This one. These two over here. Probably put them into separate layer because there's one behind here as well. So put it into separate layer, and therefore you have one layer here. The second layer is over here. And then obviously third and fourth layers behind that. Now, as you can see, there are plenty of different examples. I'm sure we'll come back to this as we are animating our pictures, just to give you a better idea, because it might be a bit overwhelming, it might be not so clear which projection to use. But just remember this: if you see someone standing on the ground, that usually means you should use horizon. Or if your picture is shot from angle like this, for example, again, you are way too close to that ground here, and you have layer here as well. So therefore you would have to use horizon for pictures like this. But again, if you don't see their legs or you know, like a picture like that I showed you before, really this is really flat picture, so I wouldn't bother using horizon. It would work, but I wouldn't bother setting up everything in horizon. I would just use parallax because it gives you very similar animation. All right, so let's just jump back to our horizon and then double click on this last After Effects project file. Alright, give it a few seconds. It's probably going to take a little bit longer if you opened it for the first time, as we need to load all of these assets into your cache, but it shouldn't be too long. Alright, so if you never opened After Effects before, it might look a little bit overwhelming. I believe it does. So let me just quickly run you through this whole interface, what's happening here. Now, over on this side, you have your project panel. You import all of your files over here. Down here, you have your timeline. Especially this section is important because that blue thing, you can drag it along that timeline and basically go through that timeline. Over on this side, you have things like effects, brushes, stuff like that. We're not going to be using this too much with Photomotion, but just so that you know where to find them. This area over here on top is your toolbar. So you have a couple of things here. Really important one is this blue one, currently selected one. I'll show you why in a bit. And then obviously the biggest one over here is the viewport. So as I said before, Photomotion is a viewport based application, so everything will be happening inside of this viewport. Alright, so what we have to do now is just make sure we are in that selection tool, shortcut V. Otherwise, if something else was selected, you wouldn't be able to click inside of that viewport, so just make sure that this icon is selected. And all we have to do is double click on one of those buttons. Obviously, if you haven't activated Photomotion yet, go here, double click on it and go to that URL. By the way, things over here, down here, as you can see now we have two of them opened, and these are called compositions. This is a new composition. So if you close it, it will go back to that previous one, which is this start screen. So all we have to do now, double click on that start horizon button. That will load the new composition. Slightly more complicated, but nothing to be afraid of. You really only have one option here at this point, and that is adding a photo down here. So that's what we're gonna do. Double click on that add photo. And now we need to get our picture, this one, inside of After Effects, and then from After Effects to Photomotion. So we're gonna do that by going back to After Effects, either double clicking on this area here, or just going to File, Import File, find that picture, click Import. Now we'll get it here, as you can see over there. And then click and drag that picture down here. Now you can see that that picture is way too big, so we need to scale that down, and you do that by clicking on this swirl over here and dragging it to this first layer. This swirl allows you to parent your layer to that first layer, and that basically means you can use position, scale and rotation of that first layer, and it will be automatically applied to layer number 2. I'll show you why this is really important when we start importing our layers into Photomotion. So we need to scale this image down. All you have to do, find that scale attribute, it's this one, and click and drag to make it smaller. If you want to go by smaller steps, all you have to do is hold down Control or Command key on your keyboard. I think something like this looks pretty good. Nothing else here. We can close this composition by clicking on that close sign. That will bring us back to this main dashboard composition. Alright, so back into this main dashboard composition, you can see a lot of these new buttons are now available to you. Now, there's a lot of them, but don't get scared about that. You have access to these two over here, a couple of layer settings over there, export setting obviously, couple of buttons on this side, which are really important, actually will be really important when we do animation. Over here as well, these are for resolution. I'll show you all of them later on, but let's just focus on this area down here, which are our layers. Ignore that thing in the middle and that green box as well. I'll come back to that after we finish setting up our layers. So in terms of layers, if I minimize this and go back to our original image, let's try to kind of establish what we're going to put where. Now that rock, as I said, including those people, ideally should go into one layer because, well, they're standing on that rock, so there's not really any benefit of splitting them into two layers. So I'll put that into layer number 1. Then we get that rock behind them into layer number 2. And then I guess the last thing should be this big rock because it's quite big. If we put it into separate layer, I think it's going to look a lot better than if we just put those two there. And that actually gives you a lot of kind of parallax movement between those three things as well, because obviously these guys in that rock, they are on kind of same level in terms of depth in that picture. This rock behind them is still kind of way too close to them, so that still will give you a lot of parallax movement, but we want something more, so that's why that rock would kind of save this picture. I think so. So we can completely ignore these rocks here. They're way too small to make any difference, so what we're gonna do is just gonna get horizon going on here, something like this, and then we set up floor to go like that. That should be pretty straightforward. That like this. Okay, excuse my lines. They're pretty ugly, but that's fine. So you see, that's gonna be our floor, and then we're gonna place those 3 different layers on top of that. Okay, back to After Effects, and here just make sure you are in selection tool again. Double click on layer number 1. Alright, so here you have your import and drawing mask. Import, really useful when you already have your layers split up, separated, for example from Photoshop. I'll show you that as well. But for this first layer, let's just have a look how to do everything inside of After Effects. So double click on draw mask. I'll open this thing here. Now in this composition, what we have to do is mask those two and that rock. We can either use these 2 masking tools, which is rectangular mask or pen tool. Both of them would work, but they, especially pen tool, would give you okay-ish results. But there is a better way of doing that, and that is by using Rotobrush over here. So that's what we're gonna do. Single click on it, and then double click on this draw mask on this layer. That's going to open this thing, and if you zoom in by using Control+ or Command+ on Mac, it will allow you to kind of paint those green lines like this, and After Effects will try to calculate that mask around those lines. So something like this. Actually, you can see that it's not too bad, but obviously we will run into issues as we just did. So you can see that purple line goes way out of our intended mask. So what you have to do is hold down Alt and just drag like this, and that will remove that part of the image. So every time something is not right, like here for example, let's just zoom in a little bit, and you can do that, and that will remove it from that mask. Now obviously Rotobrush, especially in After Effects, is not that great when it comes down to hair like this, but it will do for now. Alright, so I think something like this will do. Obviously it's not perfect. You have areas like down here, which is not really that great, but you know, what can you do? Areas like these two, all you have to do, hold down Alt and drag the line like that. It should calculate them. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Now that we have our outline in place, all we have to do is convert that into an actual mask, because this at this point is not really a mask, it's a Rotobrush. So we should kind of convert that to individual masks. And you do that by going to Layer and selecting Auto Trace. Leave everything as it is, click OK, and it should provide you with separate masks. So if you open this, go into masks, you can see that we already have 3 masks here. Now one thing to mention is go back to your selection tool and close this panel here, because now we are in layer panel and we really want to go back to composition panel. So close that layer, now you are back into composition, and if we zoom in you can see that we have these outlines. These are actually the masks that the Rotobrush created when we use Auto Trace. So one thing to do here is you can clearly just go to Rotobrush over here or just down here in Effects Controls, and what you can do is delete it or disable it for the time being, and you will realize that those 3 masks that Auto Trace created are actually set to none over here. So we need to change that. Mask 1, which is the main outline, should be set to add. Mask 2 and Mask 3, because they live inside of that Mask 1, they need to be set to subtract, because we want to subtract them from that Mask 1. So now you have your mask layer number 1. We can close this, go back to this dashboard. There are also other tools you can use, like Puppet tool and displacement maps on that specific layer. So these are more advanced tools, but we'll come back to them when we're doing the actual animation on this picture. Let's close this dashboard. That'll bring us back to this main dashboard, and you can see that that layer number 1 is now in front of that green cage that we have here. Right, next layer, layer number 2, I would probably use something else here. If we double click on it, again make sure you are in that selection tool, I would probably use layers from Photoshop, because I already pre-created this whole picture inside of Photoshop. Double click on import, and all we have to do now is just bring those layers over here. So minimize After Effects, open Photoshop. Now here I just created a couple of layers. So this is our original image. Then I basically started adding, this is layer number 1. As you can see, I mean, masking tools in Photoshop are so much better in terms of like hair here, things like that. It is a lot better. Obviously this area here down there needs a little bit more attention, but that's fine. Okay, so that's layer number 1. Then we have layer number 2, which is basically that rock behind them. Layer number 3 is obviously that big rock. I put that rock there as well, but I don't really think we're gonna need it, so just select that mask, go to brush. Brush is, by the way, over here. Click on that, make sure my foreground color is set to black, and what I have to do is just paint it out like this. It's not gonna be on that layer anymore. Now I also created layer number 4, but again I don't think we're gonna need that layer, so let me just drag it to this bin over here. Okay, enable all of these layers, hit save. That will save it onto your drive. Now you can close Photoshop, get back to After Effects, go to Project Panel over here, click on it, and same as we did with our JPEG, all we have to do is go to File, Import, Import File, and select that PSD file, hit Import. That will give you this dialog. Import kind, choose Composition. Layer options, choose Merge Layer Styles into Footage. We don't really need editable layer styles, and click OK. Now this is going to create 2 things here. One is the actual composition, where you can see all of your layers inside of that, and the second one is a folder that contains all of your individual layers as such. We don't really care about that composition down there, we don't need it really, so we can select that, delete it. All we care about are those 4 different layers. So this is layer number 2, so I'll select that layer number 2, drag it all over down here into layer 2 import. And as you can see, again, we are having the same problem, and that being that image is way too big for that composition, so we should scale it down. Now, you don't really want to manually scale this specific layer because you already did all of your scaling in Add Photo over here. As you remember, we kind of parented that layer and did all of the scaling here. So ideally, I would just want to copy these kind of values over to that layer here. There's a better way of actually doing this, and all you have to do is click on this swirl and then just make sure you hold down Shift and then parent it to that top layer here, and that will copy all of those attributes from this original Add Photo and apply them to that layer number 2. Now, if we decided that this picture needs to be a little bit bigger, let's say like this, and then we just go to this, you can see that now it's automatically applied as well. So this is a way better way of doing this rather than applying individual scaling options to those layers. Now let's just put that back as it was, and ta-da! We are done with this importing layer number 2. I'll go ahead and do layer number 3 as well. So close those compositions, close this, choose a dashboard. Give it a second, and now you can see that rock appearing behind them. So pretty cool. Now let's do the same thing with layer number 3. Again, we're going to use that import. Double click on import, layer 3, drag it down there, swirl, click, drag, hold down Shift. That is really important. If you don't hold down Shift, it's not going to copy those values. So make sure you hold down Shift, release, ta-da, copy it. So now you can close this. Now we are in that dashboard, so we can close that as well. Give it a second, and it should bring that rock over here. All right, I think we are done here with our layer setups. So we'll move on and do cage animation. So let's just focus on this thing here, and this is our cage controller. Now, to better understand how this actually works and how Horizon is actually treating that cage, it would be beneficial if we just go back here to our pictures, and I'll show you a couple of different examples. How would you set up that kind of cage? So this one, for example, I would probably just set up that cage in this way. That this is now wall, this is the back plate over there, this is another wall, and obviously that is a roof, and that is a floor down here. So something like this. That's wall 1, wall 2, and then obviously putting her into a mask. So this is how I would set up that kind of projection on this specific image. There are also obviously other scenarios like this one, pretty cool. This picture would be better if we, well, obviously we're going to put him into layer, but I would just create a backplate that is as wide as this, so it actually goes beyond the edge of the image. So that's the back wall of that cage that we're going to be doing, and then obviously floor would go something like this, right? So that would be the floor of that cage, and I would do exactly the opposite for Sky. So something like this. Now obviously he is inside of a mask. I wouldn't bother about this thing down here. I'll just put him into a mask, and that's it. And back wall over here, that would be basically our back plate. I keep talking about back plate just to visualize. This thing over here is the back plate. This is the roof, this is the floor, and these are the walls. I'll show you how to properly manipulate them just in a second. If we just go back here, things, I'll show you one more example. Again, he's definitely going into a layer like this, so he is on that layer, and now to probably put these boxes here into layers as well. And then in terms of the cage, I would do something like this. So this will be the back plate. probably that DJ at the back, he should go into a layer as well. So right, so this is the back plate, this is the wall, and this is the roof. We don't see floor that much here, but we can actually put this whole thing into floor, like basically that will be the floor then, right? So obviously, as I said before, there are different scenarios and how to set up that kind of cage. Now, obviously, for pictures like this, you don't really need cage. You can be pretty much fine with using parallax, so that's absolutely fine. Now, let's focus on our image and how we would do that cage here. Now, obviously, we just do horizon over there, and then they're already in a mask. So they're already masked out in layer. That rock is in layer as well, and this rock is in layer as well. So all we have to do now is basically selecting that back plate, which could be, I would probably say something like this. Although you don't see sky as much, it's a good practice to kind of assume that that sky is there. So you set up a back wall like that. This is the roof. And this is obviously the floor going on like this. So let's do that. Now back to After Effects. Now this is our main controller. Make sure you are in that selection tool, and if you click and drag this, you would see that this actually updates this main controller. Now, one thing to mention over here, down here, if you keep full selected, that would mean that this is a 4K resolution, even though that the viewport is kind of small. So what we have to do is go over here, click on half. That would half it, which would be still full HD resolution. So you're not going to lose any kind of detail because this is just for a preview. So that's absolutely fine. Back to selection tool. I'll just move it over here like this. You can do a couple of things with this controller. Actually, you can make it wider like that, which is something that we're going to be doing here. Move it up here so that it actually, that back wall matches with the horizon. So we make it smaller like that. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We don't need to be super precise. What's more important are these things surrounding it. So this is the roof, this is the floor plate, these are the side walls. Like for this specific image, I don't think we're gonna need side walls, so we're just gonna focus on roof and floor. Now, in terms of roof, there's not much to kind of focus on. All we have to do is rotate that so it actually matches the direction of that sky. So how would you do that? It's actually really simple. Make sure that is selected, so click on it like that, and then go to Effect Controls over here. Now, if you don't see this, if you don't have that panel there, all you have to do, go to Window and select it down here, Effect Controls. So now that being selected, we can use rotation. So if you keep dragging that slider, you will see that will rotate that top plate. So I think something like this is absolutely fine. Now we just need to extend it a little bit further so it actually covers that area as well. You do that by basically clicking on this, drag it out like that. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We're not gonna need these side walls, so I'll leave them as they are, but they obviously have the same set of controls. As you can see, that panel here really adapts to whatever you have selected. So if you select the middle one, you can see that there are a couple of other options like rotation, up, down, left, right, tilt, and all sorts of things like that. So you can actually rotate the whole cage like that if you need to. We don't need it for this image. So all I wanted to do is to mention that these walls here, they rotate exactly the same as the main roof and floor. So don't worry about it too much. Now, with this floor down here, what we want to do is obviously start with rotation. So rotate it to something like this, probably a little bit more. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Now we need to extend it. Now watch what happens if we extended that, for example, down here. You could actually see that that floor is now intersecting with our layer 3, and you can see that by kind of focusing on that thing here. You can see that it goes straight through that layer. So we need to fix that somehow. Easiest way to do that would be make this smaller so it actually ends with that layer down there. It doesn't kind of extend to those two layers. We're going to fix them in a bit. So make it smaller. Yeah, something like this is absolutely fine. Now, the main purpose of setting up layers and floor like this is to kind of give you that photorealistic effect that that rock is actually lying on that floor. And you achieve that by making sure it doesn't kind of intersect with that layer like this, but it is slightly below that. So I think something like this is absolutely fine. Now what we need to do is extend that floor and do the same for that rock behind them, which is this thing here, and then just do the same thing for them and the rock. So if you extend this like that, and just remember 56 over here, kind of keep rotating this so you are focusing on intersection between that floor plate and this first rock. If you keep doing that, you can actually see that we are now running into issues with this layer number 3. Now layer number 2 again seems like that is intersecting, but this is intersecting way too much. So what we have to do is just go back where it was, 56, because now we can be sure that that is the position, the actual slope of that floor plate for that layer number 3. And all you have to do is just kind of create another floor plate that is coming from that floor plate 1. And you do that by selecting that floor plate 1 and going down here, and it says activate floor 2. Click on that and give it a second, and ta-da, you have floor plate number 2, which you can rotate independently from that floor plate 1. So that's what we're going to do, because we want to now focus on that rock that is behind them. Let's just make it a bit bigger and keep rotating until you see that intersection between that layer and the floor. So I would assume something like this be fine. I mean, obviously layer 1 is now obstructing it, but that's absolutely fine. We know that we are getting closer to it, so something like this, absolutely perfect. And now we're going to do the same thing for layer number 1. So select this floor plate 2, go over here, activate floor 3, click on this, and that will bring another control for floor number 3. Now that can be again rotated completely independently from those two previous floor plates. Now just make it longer like that, and now you can actually see now we are intersecting with that layer. So something like this looks pretty fine, I would say. Now over here on this section you have plenty of other options. Each of these panels comes with their own flaps. For example, they allow you to kind of extend that floor plate to the left or to the right. So if you drag that, it will allow you to kind of create these kind of areas. So if you have uneven surfaces, you can play around with it. It really gives you a lot of flexibility, but we're not going to need it for this picture, so I'm just going to bring it back to 0. That's fine. And just to mention this, obviously these extensions work across this whole controller, so you can kind of keep extending walls if you have different angles of your walls. So if you are doing buildings or stuff like that, these walls will make that possible. Same with the roof as well. If you have something uneven on your roof, you can keep extending those things and achieve whatever you really want to do. I mean, as I mentioned, those flaps, for example, if you select that wall so we can focus on that area here, you have flaps top and flaps bottom. So if you extend the flaps over here, it can kind of allow you to keep that angle here, but kind kind of extend that wall down here. It's really important for things like stairs and stuff like that, so that's absolutely fine. I'll definitely make a tutorial for it, so don't worry about it too much. One more thing to mention here is that I don't really want to see the whole cage like this. I would really want to put some crop on it, on this main image. And you do that in this section over here. So come over there, single click on it. By the way, when you see gray button, that means single click, and blue button means double click. So single click on any of those buttons here. So let's say vertical, which is 16:9, but rotate it the other way. Single click on it and then go into Effect Controls panel and click activate, and that will give you that 9:16 resolution, which is, by the way, ideal for things like Instagram stories and stuff like that. Alright, I think this is enough for this video. We've covered a lot of different topics, from masking to setting up your cage. In the next video we're gonna look into animating this picture. So if you look down here, this is where the magic happens. Let me just quickly switch to that. Just to show you how it actually looks. So I prepared some animation, so you can see we'll be creating something like this. Full 3D animation. We'll add some particles as well. If we enable this, it will automatically add those particles into that 3D scene. We can choose different types of particles. It's going to be a lot of fun, trust me. Alright, so now you should have a solid understanding of how to set up your 3D scene in Horizon. We've covered opening Photomotion, adding your picture, adding layers, and setting up the 3D scene. It might look a bit overwhelming, especially if you've never done any photo animation before, but trust me, you are more than halfway there. In fact, this was the difficult part. In the next video, we'll animate our picture, add 3D elements such as flying particles, and tweak the animation keyframes so our result looks more professional. Then in part 3, we'll look at exporting our final animation out of Photomotion. You can find part 2 and part 3 of this tutorial series in the links below. If you have any questions, hop on our live chat here or leave a comment below. I'll see you in part 2.